than what I've been trying to be lately. All I wanna do is think of me and I peace of mind. I don't wanna be anything other than what I've been trying to be lately.
You can expect more of that.
All I wanna do is think of me and I peace of mind. I'm tired of looking around.
Nice hands.
Nice legs.
I'm supposed to be.
Hey.
I don't wanna be anything other than me.
My name is Mark Schwann. I created the show One Tree Hill, and I'm day-to-day one of the executive producers.
I love the basic premise of this show. I love the Cain and Abel setup.
Basically, One Tree Hill is about two brothers.
One Tree Hill actually had its first life as a feature project called Ravens.
And he had written like maybe 25 pages, and he left it with me to read. And I read it, and I really liked it.
So we went back to Mark and said, while it would have been exciting to spend 2 hours in this world with these characters, imagine developing a series and having the potential to spend 100 and some hours with these characters in this world.
So we pursued Mark for 4 years, because Mark wanted to write it as a movie. I kept on saying it would be a better television show.
And so we redeveloped Ravens as a series for the WB.
They weren't in love with the title. I was. They felt like it was too sports-centric because Ravens was the name of the team. And when I was writing the original script, I had been listening to the Joshua Tree, which is a U2 album, and there's a song called One Tree Hill. So they loved it, and they said, you know, One Tree Hill is what we'd like to go with. What was interesting was about 6 episodes in, I got a note from the network, and they said, what does One Tree Hill mean? The audience wants to know. As we've told these stories in this world, I feel like there is only one Tree Hill. And I said, what I'd like to have happen is I'd like Karen to say to Lucas,
there is only one Tree Hill. And it's your home.
Our first episode out, we had really poor ratings.
Our numbers were very low in the beginning.
Everyone was really kind of in a panic.
The good news is that because we started out so poorly and the ratings were so low, there was nowhere to go but up.
I didn't want to come out all big and flashy and, you know, this high concept show with a lot of money behind it. I really wanted to kind of be like the little train that could.
Chad Michael Murray was the first piece of casting. He was sort of the key.
Originally, we weren't sure who Chad was going to play.
I wanted him to be Nathan. I saw him as a Nathan.
Mark and I were going back and forth, and everybody else was going back and forth between him playing Nathan or Lucas. You know, Chad had played the bad guy in a lot of things before, so the natural thing was to give him the bad guy role.
Chad really wanted to be Lucas. Ultimately, that made the decision for us. He just responded to the character. He felt like he could inhabit that character.
Lucas's life had a lot of similarities in my life.
This role means more to him.
My mother left when I was a kid, and I felt like I had an opportunity to bring the truth and the reality to a story that I don't think a lot of people may have been able to have that opportunity to bring the truth and tell the story the way I see it through my eyes anyway.
I told you it was going to get worse.
James Lafferty had more experience as a basketball player than as an actor.
I don't think I was like an initial choice.
When James went into casting, he was the dark horse to get the job.
I had to go through probably 5 or 6 auditions to actually get the part.
James is a kid I had screen test for The Perfect Score and didn't hire and sort of knew about, and he came in and read for us, and we were like, we weren't really sure, and sort of gave him some notes, and we were going to bring him to the network only because we just didn't have the guy. And
I didn't think that my auditions were up to par, but they sort of gave me a chance.
Ultimately, he came into the network that day and blew us away, like surprisingly blew us away.
We had met Hillary Burton in casting the movie Radio. She was coming off her MTV work, really hadn't done much acting, was principally a television host, but she had a remarkable quality.
I think it was nice to play a character that, one, wasn't necessarily everybody's favorite at first, you know? It was nice to try to win the crowd over.
I was surprised at how much they resented Peyton in the beginning.
She, I think, made a lot of people angry when our show first came on the air because they're like, okay, cheerleader who likes punk music, who's an artist, who's dark and moody but still popular, this doesn't exist.
I couldn't understand why the audience resented her so much. She was a kid making mistakes just like all the other kids. But she seemingly was miserable and had a wonderful life, and they resented her for that.
In everything I've ever done, I've always played the bad guy. And she was the bad guy in the first episode, you know? She was a jerk.
We had to strip the character, strip all the severe sort of edginess away from the character, and we made a conscious effort to make her the moral center of the show in the second half of the season. The audience started to like her more too, and they didn't quite know why.
Would you say yes if he asked you out?
It depends. What song is playing? Am I in a good mood? Is he smiling when he asks, or is he doing that goofy brooding thing he does?
Oh, you know, I think he's definitely doing the brooding.
He does it all the time.
There wasn't enough humor in the beginning of the show. We were really, really earnest, and I think Sophia added a lot of humor to the show.
Hey, you. Don't mind me. I just have to get out of this uniform.
And I think that's what people really gravitated to, and she was a real spark for us.
She wasn't brooding, she wasn't pouting. We didn't know a lot about her, she was a bit of a cipher, but what we did know was fun.
Brooke is sort of your quintessential fun girl. She's got a lot of spunk and a lot of kick.
At a certain point in the season, we decided that we wanted to pull back the curtain a little bit. We wanted to show that there was a person there that had some heart.
What I relate to with Brooke is people looking in on a life that they think must be pretty easy and still not being sure of yourself. You know, still having insecurity. I don't think there's a girl on the planet that wakes up every day and feels good about herself every day. That doesn't happen.
You know, it didn't work out with her and Lucas, but I think the audience was there and they wanted to see that journey take place. And, you know, some people root for Peyton and Lucas, some people for Brooke and Lucas, but that's good. That's all good, because at the end of the day, that means Sophia Bush is doing a fantastic job.
What is she doing here?
You invited her.
When we saw Bethany Joy Lenz, I think she was Joy Lenz at that point. Then she was Bethany for a while. I tease her about it. I'm sorry, Bethany.
I was cast as Haley. It was another random audition in LA that I had, and I actually read for Haley and Brooke, but I didn't really want to play Brooke, so I just read Brooke the exact same way that I had read Haley, which isn't that great for me as an actress, but it looks, it was, anyway, I got the part I wanted.
Joy is someone who challenges herself to be electric on every take. Many times she'll make choices and elevate the material, and you know, that's when you really win. And
the water balloon fight is definitely one of my favorites. There's a great scene where Lucas and I are just in the kitchen and making hot chocolate, and that was one of the only scenes I've done where I really felt like they let us have all the time we wanted. We just sat there and there was moments of silence, there was awkward pauses. It was really a joyful scene to film and to go back and watch and go, that's exactly how I wanted it to look.
I wanted to remember for a night the way that things were. Everything was so much simpler when it was just you and me. And I'm used to being self-confident and sensible, and I just really feel like a mess right now.
You're not a mess. You're just in love.
I thought that we would be really missing an opportunity if we didn't spend time in the adults' world as well.
You can't make these shows just about the kids. They will not work.
The great thing about the parents are they're involved with the kids' lives, but they're also fallible.
I want to know what's going on in their lives. Where are they trying to get to? Because as you and I know, it doesn't end when high school ends. It never ends.